up here. Yeah, just more of just an engineer, not a no producer, not talent, just an engineer, somebody just behind the wheel. That's all that's going to be. Yeah, yeah.
Brother Jerry.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Don't ask me if we have any likes. I don't know. I don't know if we have any likes or not. I can't answer that
No,
question.
no, we good. We good. It's all about
Yeah.
the leader of the Nashville Fire Department and Nashville Office of Emergency Management,
Amen.
Brother William Swan, Director Chief.
That's all it really
Chief.
is.
Write that down.
Yes.
So don't get it twisted.
Yes, right.
All right, I got us all set up. We are good to go. We are currently live on YouTube right now, and we're ready to record, Ernie. So I'm gonna hit your music bed, and then we'll get it going. Is everybody ready to go?
Yes, sir.
All right,
Check.
we are rolling in three, two, one.
Welcome into Let's Talk. This is brand new for a lot of our listeners, a lot of our viewers. It is Let's Talk on podcast. And of course, we have guests aboard the program still, and you'll be able to find out what is going on in and around your community. We'll be talking about history. We'll be talking about a lot of things that are coming up real soon. In fact, we're getting ready for Black History Month, and we're going to do a salute to HBCUs. Already scheduled for the show is Dr. Clark, who is the president of Fisk University, and also Dr. Forrest Harris, who's the president of American Baptist College. We also have lined up the president of Tennessee State University, Dr. Glenda Baskin Glover, over at TSU, and she is on her way to retirement to go fishing. We have a special guest today, and I haven't had the opportunity to have him on the show because he's been so busy. And we caught up with him, and he is the Director Chief, William Swan, the leader of the Nashville Fire Department and Nashville Office of Emergency Management. Director Chief Swan, welcome, welcome, welcome. How you doing, sir?
I'm completely honored. First, let me just say, Ernie Allen, I've been listening to you since I've been in Nashville. So that started
Well,
back
thank you,
in
sir.
the early 90s, shortly after the military.
Right.
And also with Jerry Maynard. I know he does a lot in the city as well. But I'm just completely honored, and what a great opportunity it is for me, and also to be able to talk a little bit about the Nashville Fire Department and the Office of Emergency Management. And hopefully, after this conversation, people will be very surprised at what we do as a department, and helps them rest a little bit more at night. And I think every firefighter, paramedic, or our people that work at Office of Emergency Management, and anybody in public service would
Right.
say it's an honor to be in this position. When people need help, we're there for them.
And today is all about you and to find out more about the fire department. Special guest, Brother Jerry Maynard, no stranger to Let's Talk. And how you been, sir?
Man, I've been great since the last time I saw you, Ernie. It's been a great 2024. I'm excited what God has in store for us,
Yes,
for
sir.
all of us. I'm excited about this new podcast for you, Ernie. This is gonna be
Yes,
awesome,
sir.
man. Because now you can go global, man. They can listen to you in Dubai whenever they want to. And,
Right.
this podcast is gonna be great for you. I'm so excited for you, and congratulations.
All right. Thank you, sir. And of course, special guest Jerry Maynard. Our guest is Director Chief William Swan, the leader of the Nashville Fire Department and Nashville Office of Emergency Management. Sir, how long you been with the department now?
Well, I came on September 1st of 1995, so I am 28 years.
Wow.
It's been a complete blast. It's gone fast and quick, but again, it's a position that many people will concur this. It's just very humble, with humility, and being able to provide a service to people with need. So,
Right. And when you
28
came
years.
in, you wanted to go rush right into a building, if you will.
Well, it took a little bit more than that, but absolutely. I came fresh out of the military.
All right.
Well, a couple years out of the military. And
Thank you for your service.
Oh, absolutely. One of the things that I think that's inherent to all of, people that are in public service is truly a calling. When I got out of the military, I had this itch I couldn't scratch, and I couldn't put my finger on exactly what I wanted to do. I danced around a couple other positions, and then lo and behold, someone brought to me the opportunity to get on the Nashville Fire Department, and I got on, and from that point, I started my journey, and it is a tour through life's challenges, and then just being in a position that is remarkable. My story is remarkable. I mean, I
Right.
think
Well, let's talk about your days of when you first joined. What was it like then for African Americans, for blacks, and especially yourself?
Yeah. Well, as a department, and especially even as a city, but I'm going to talk about the Nashville Fire Department for a minute. We've
Right.
come a long way. When I first came on, there were some great people that, and probably are hearing this podcast in your radio station. Um, when we first came on as African American, you was going to be either at Station 11, which is off of Buchanan, or Station 25s, Whites Creek Pike, 24s, Clarksville Highway, or 19s off of Charlotte. Those were the primary area. In 23s, those were the primary stations that you would be at. But now, where we have evolved to, I mean, again, with diversity and inclusion and the spread out, we've come a long way. But it was, I've seen a lot of great things that's happened in the department when it comes to diversity. And since I've been chief for 5 years, we've really tried to make everything intentional about diversity, making things intentional about opportunity. And those that are listening to this podcast and listening to your radio, I really want them to understand we are always looking for diversity. That's something that if your department doesn't represent and look like the people you're representing, you're subject to fail. And that's one of the things that we strive to do. So in the department overall, we used to be considered, and people still, we're the Nashville Fire Department,
Right.
but we're an all hazards department. We deal and do a little bit of everything, and I know as we go forward, we'll talk about a few of those things that we do that people probably not even aware of. But being African American, being black, and for me, it's 365.
Yes,
you
sir.
know? And but as we come up on this Martin Luther King's holiday, his birthday, and even Black History Month, it's really humbling when you think about all people that came before us, became before me, even like yourself.
Right.
Oh, I'm sitting in between or across from two great leaders in this city.
Right.
And it behooves us all to make sure that our impact, we really don't realize how many people that you touch. Most of us never get the opportunity or the privilege to know that you've touched somebody. Most people do it from afar. They look from afar, they're watching you, and it is important that you set forth a standard of excellence. And so again,
Absolutely.
that's one of the things that I take pride in. And being a man of faith, it's for me, it's God, it's family, and then self. And if you put those things all in that order, usually that will give you a perfect recipe for success.
Yes, sir.
And that's why I really strive to do that every day.
Director Chief William Swan and our man of faith and special guest is Jerry Binkner. Did you ever grow up saying, I think I want to be a firefighter or a policeman or a doctor or a lawyer? And here you are today, touching people, man of faith.
Man, listen, let me tell you something. So my grandmother used to prophesy. She said, man of God, mighty man of God, you're going to be a preacher, a pastor. I said, no, I want to be a lawyer. I want to be on the United States Supreme Court. We call Mama Fanny. And she was like, no, you're going to be a pastor. But I went to law school. I knew I wanted to be a lawyer from the time I was born. But I also was in the military. I was in the military in the Army for 21 years and served, and
Yes,
so I
sir.
appreciate.
Thank you for your
I
service.
appreciate you. Thank God for Chief Swan. If I could ask him a question, if you don't mind.
Yeah, you're special
Listen,
guest. Come
listen,
on.
listen. We have an African American as our chief of police, an African American as our chief of the fire department and emergency management. And when I came to Nashville, we did not have any African Americans in those type of leadership positions. Now, that didn't mean it didn't happen, and it did happen. We've had an African American be chief of the police department in the past. But for us at this time in life, where we have the chief of the fire department and the chief of police are both African Do you have enough personnel? Do you have enough fire stations? Do you have enough fire trucks? Do we have enough African Americans? Because at one time, and Ernie, you know this better than me, if you want to be an African American in the fire department, you had to go to one of those black stations. It was like, seriously, there were black stations and the rest of them were white.
Right.
And I know, Chief, you said you've changed that or it's been changed.
Yeah.
But first question is, with all the tremendous growth, is the department in a position to deal with all that growth? What's your need? Do we need more personnel, more fire stations, more fire trucks? And then I got another question. The second question is, and this is my selfish question. When somebody builds a tall skyscraper, do y'all get like, what? We ain't gonna be able to put out that fire if a fire starts at floor 78. We don't have no ladders there. And I'm not being facetious. Haven't you ever thought about that, Ernie? Like,
well, they firefighters,
right?
And we need more young men and young women to join. So let's talk about the personnel as well.
Yeah. Well,
what does it take to be a firefighter?
Well, let me see. I'm gonna hit this way. So there was this. I read one time where when Mr. Ford was making production of his cars, right? He had an assembly line, and the reporter asked Mr. Ford, say, "Hey, how much money does it takes to make one of your workers happy?" His answer was just a little bit more. So Jerry, just a little bit more on everything you asked. So first, let me say this: under my tenure, actually coming in, we had Mayor Dean, we had Megan, we had Briley, Mayor Cooper, and now Freddie O'Connell. So just in that short span of time, actually Dean Megan had just came in when I got in. So. And then the city was in a different status of, with finances. But I will say this, the city is not just growing up, but it's growing out.
Right.
Now you can't really tell when you're in Rutherford County, or Davidson County, or, Sumner, or, or what have you, Franklin, because the city is growing out and we have expanded. So when we start talking about the fire department, I will say this. Under the last administration with Mayor Cooper for the fire suppression. So let me express, in the fire department, you have fire suppression, you have your EMS division. That's the ones that always ride the ambulances. But to be a firefighter, everybody is an EMT, emergency medical technician, even on the fire department side. And even there, some of them, like myself, I'm also a paramedic. Now, fire suppression means they're going to either be on the engine or truck or fast car or a squad. Now, the EMS division is all about the ambulance, okay? Then we have training, we have special ops, we have all different type of divisions. But so the meat and potatoes is suppression and EMS. So on suppression side, the last budget year, Mayor Cooper were able to at least get us back to what we consider a full staffing, which we hadn't been there in 21 years.
Wow.
Now, that just means with the current department that we have, the current size of department that we have, we're fully staffed. But the problem with that is, with attrition, for instance, when you get hired as a firefighter and you have no training, you come in, it's going to be 7 to 8 months before we get you from we selected you to get you on the street. But within that, because it's 6 months in the actual academy, and then all the other stuff that has to be done even before you make it to the academy. But here's the point: by the time we get a recruit class from the door into out, we've already, that's 6, 7 months. Well, we've already lost 40 to 50 people who's retired. So we always chasing our tail there.
Yeah.
But we're in a better situation because we are fully staffed. You got vacation, you got military, you got FMLA, you got people off sick. So it's always difficult to maintain a structure of what you would feel healthy with. But I am so thankful that what has happened, it got us to full staffing. Now, here's the problem. You asked about, do we have enough? So now that we're in, and then the EMS division, let me mention this. We've got 33 units, and that means 33 ambulances. We've come a long way. When I remember coming from 14 to where we're at now, and even under my 5-year tenure, We had like, I think 18 or something now, maybe 20. I don't want to be quoted on that, but now we at 33. That is amazing. The hours that is used per unit, we want to put that at like four something. There's an equation there without getting into the weeds, but we're still overutilizing those pieces of equipment. And men and women, they're operating them. It's like at an 8. So we need to expand that to be more. This new budget year, we'll ask for 2 or 3 more. So now we're in a unique situation where we need to grow the department, completely grow the department. That means we need a new fire station with fire equipment and fire personnel.
The
So
personnel.
yes,
Do
and
you
here's
need to be
the
at least 18?
no 21. You have to be
21.
at least
All right.
21. But fire departments are expensive. So let me just say that, and some administrations will concur that. But here's the point: to have a fire station and have an engine, a truck, an ambulance in there, and the personnel and stuff you're looking at 23 to 25 million dollars.
Wow.
Now, before you say, "Wow, Ernie,"
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask you, what price do you put on your life?
Hmm.
See, so
Right.
that's the importance
property
of that.
damage.
And
Right.
property damage.
There you go.
Look, LIP. We operate off of what we call the LIP method. That means life, safety, incident, stabilization, and property conservation. That's what we want to deal with and mitigate and handle. So this department needs to now focus on growing the department. We've got 42 fire stations within Nashville. One of them is we have an ambulance that actually works out of Goodlettsville. So we've done some incredible things over the last administration with Mayor Cooper. And listen, and I'm not knocking, because I know that if Dean could do it, if Megan could have done it, they'd done it. If Bradley could have done it, he could have done it. It was different times. But when Cooper came in, again, I think they had the plan, and property taxes, some other things that happened that enabled us to grow, because again, and it was during those hard times that we experienced under his leadership, it really showed the fact that, listen, it's not you're no better or stronger as a city than your public safety. So, you can talk about the It City, you can talk about Emerald City, the great and wonderful Oz.
Right.
But if your public safety is not at a par, then that city is going to fail. So we've grown, and I know, Freddie O'Connor, he's part of the Metro Council for the last 8 years. I've known him. Now he's the Metro Mayor, and I know he is going to be very supportive of the department. We talk all the time, just like I do with all the others. Again, so
How often do
we
you
want to
have to
grow.
meet with the mayor?
Well, we have we do a Monday morning meeting
Okay.
with a specific department heads meeting, and then he's representative sometimes as well. But we have an open line communication no
Right.
matter what.
So he's sensitive to what you need.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, very sensitive to it, and very attuned to what department need. He comes in just like Mayor Cooper did, with a bunch of experience, because they said on Metro Council,
Yep.
if you ask, Jerry Maynard here, he can get a little bit
Right.
more in the weeds with most.
He's one of the
can't.
godfathers of the
Hey,
council.
hey,
I'm not that old yet, man.
Hey, listen.
Don't put me at that.
that's all right. But yeah,
Especially-
and then you talked about the high rise. I want to touch that for a minute, because again, the city, of course, downtown, we understand the high rises
Going up.
and oh yeah, absolutely, and that's just the way it is. But again, we train. One of the things that we do, we'll put in anywhere between 25 to 2,000 hours of training every week. And here's the thing I want people to understand: in a 6-day grace period, the Nashville Fire Department will make anywhere between 3,000 calls in that short period. And when you start talking about high rise training and fires and incidents, there is a very intentional and detailed way that we select and the teams that actually go into these buildings and how they fight fire. There's a new system called the forest system that we're actually implemented now, that when high rises are built, it's like a system where it's actually not, we have water mains that go in so we can connect to water pipes and fight fires at any level. the new forest system is really just for air. It's an air pipe that goes through the whole building, so that now firefighters, even when they, because it takes a lot of work. I mean, you have your tank on, your equipment, that's anywhere between 35 to 40 pounds. And then you're going to have extra tanks that you're carrying yourself. So you toting up these steps, and you have to take the stairwells now, because you're not going to take elevators during
Right.
a fire.
Right.
You got to be in shape, and you got to be in condition. And it's a lot of hard work. So by the time you get to the area that's actually on fire, of course, and you set up your staging and all this good stuff. It's a lot of hard work, but nothing comes easy that's worthwhile. But
Absolutely.
a lot of trainings involved with that. It's a lot of strategy putting in. People think you just go into a fire and you just throw water on it.
No.
Water. Listen. Water expands 1,700 times itself when it hits,
Maybe the volunteer
fire
part.
department. Nah, I'm not going to do that, Ernie. I'm not going to do that. No. Because
We're
let
not
me
going
tell
to
you
talk about
something.
the rural area.
No, because let me tell you something, man. The volunteer departments, just like volunteers, and and I know you being funny with that just because
Right.
we're here entertaining, but I'm going to mention that for a second,
Yes,
Ernie,
sir.
because this is important.
Right.
Listen, we're known as the volunteer state. But volunteers at the Office of Emergency Management, we have almost 60 volunteers. These volunteers are made up of men and women like you, Ernie, like Jerry. They're professionals, but they just love to be there and help people. When I first got asked to go to the Office of Emergency Management, and they told me how it was structured, and they said, well, you got volunteers. I'm like, volunteers? I thought there was a bunch of yahoos and just running around what we would like to refer to as squirrels. But let me tell you something. I was very much humbled, and I have such respect for that, because you know what the difference between a volunteer and a full paid firefighter is? They don't get paid, but they're still professional. They work hard,
Right.
they train hard, and they do it not. And none of us do it for the love of the money.
Right.
They do
We
it
wanna
because they
save
want to make a
lives.
difference. They
Yeah.
want to make a difference.
Right. But
They
let,
wanna
let me
make a
ask you this
difference.
question. So I'm very familiar with Chief Drake, and before he got there,
Yeah.
Ernie, the police department, we had an issue where the black union members, or the representatives of the black police officers, were saying, listen, there comes a point in time when a recruit, they do the background checks, they do all this kind of stuff. Disproportionately, African Americans were being denied into a class because they may have smoked weed when they were 17 or 18 or something, whereas the white candidate got through, and they had this panel. And so I went to the chief of police before Drake, and he said, well, if you want to be part of the solution, because I was on the council, and you know how quiet I am,
Yeah.
right? You know how quiet I am. So
Yeah, right.
I'm raising hell like it ain't nobody's business. So he said, well, come and join the panel and be here. And so when I joined the panel, I kept saying stuff like, wait a minute, white candidate got through. He was in high school, got popped for weed and drugs, but the brother, who was 19, got popped, and you're denying him. So we were able to really make some difference. My question to you, Chief Swan, how do you deal with making sure that each class has proportionate representation of African Americans and women and on that class? I will say Drake is trying to do a better job with the police, and I know he's not on here now. You're here, but what are you doing to make sure that each class that comes in is well proportioned, and especially given the fact now we don't have to worry about that. You only got 4 stations you can go to if you're black, and 2 of them are in North Nashville.
Yeah. And again, and I want to emphasize that you're right, and that's past. That's not like that anymore. But you're right. I mentioned that when I first came on, so I'm gonna answer that very simple. We're intentional about it. Look, when we do a recruit possibility, a list of what recruits that's coming in, we really look heavy at it. And I love to, and I want to make this point, this disclaimer, that the chief does not make all the promotions. The chief does not hire all the people. I don't want that responsibility
Right,
on my
right.
shoulders. I have a team of individuals that do this, but we are very intentional about diversity, because again, it is essential for us to make sure that we have men and women in this job that represents the people that we're serving. And we do. Here's an interesting fact that you'll find. Even right now, I mean, you can go to Nashville Gov, and you can find when we're going to hire, and I think it's coming up here in February. Matter of fact, And we really need, especially our female population, we really need that. We've never had a recruitment issue, right? But truth known, of course, you're going to have more Caucasians than you do, when we start talking about blacks or Hispanics or others or females or two or more now. We've got so many different ways of breaking that down, but we're very intentional about it. In most cases, how it starts out is that when we put a list together, I always try to get it somewhere where it's usually where you're going to have the minority is going to be out by the numbers more than just the Caucasian males, But I break it down just where, you got your white males, your black males, your females, and then your others, your Caucasian, your Hispanic, and African. We're really trying to reach out to get more because you have to be intentional about it. Because if you're not careful, if you're not and you laid back on it, then you're going to have more Caucasian because that number is just higher. It's just, and if you put them in a bag and shake it up, and you got 100 marbles in there, and 60 of them is white, and the other 40 is made up of others, then quite naturally you're gonna pull out more white marbles. So you have to be intentional about it. Now, you mentioned something about marijuana, and man, that's an issue.
You were once a training instructor.
Yes. I've hit just about every position there is that's in the department, from being a recruit to a firefighter, all the way up the line, hit just about every one of them.
So the drug screening, the physical activity, the written, the mental, the education. What about the education part?
Yeah, well, the education is now the way we do it. You don't have to have. You got to have a high school. Again, you got to graduate from high school. And also, most people now are coming in with that college, and we encourage that, right? And I love those. Listen, what we want to see in a candidate is a person that's going to come in and have a willingness to be, first of all, he's got to be trainable, or her got to be trainable. They got to be able to really have, it's a certain type of individual that will be on the fire department. Most people think they want to do it, but listen, you're going to see the worst of the worst. It doesn't matter what happens. And you listen, in the police department, and Chief Drake and I are close friends, and we go back and forth with each other who got the better department, and of course he knows it's the fire department, and he's not here to dispute that.
He'll be here in a couple of weeks.
Right.
So we'll ask him.
But yeah, you do that. But here's the point. We deal with everything. If somebody gets shot or hurt or a heart attack or whatever, we're the ones that's putting hands on. We're trained to deal with that. And it's a difficult position to be in at times because, again, we try to make sure we take care of our mental health because, I can't tell you how many people that I've worked on that's died with me working on them, right? And the things that you see is horrific. And I say this a lot. You may see in a shift, one shift of work, you may see more there than the average person, a catastrophe and disaster, than the average person will see their whole life.
Right.
So it takes a special person. So again, I am just really trying to advocate that we need individuals that want to make a difference. We need individuals that come in with a heart of servanthood. You got to have that. You
and you're a great leader as well. Director Chief William Swan, the leader of the Nashville Fire Department and Nashville Office of Emergency Management. Special guest, Jerry, you ready to join the fire department?
I'm not, but I will tell you this. I'll tell you this. I have so much respect. One of the things we had to deal with on the Metro Council, Ernie, is culture. We had to go, so we went to Fisk, we went to Tennessee State University, and we went to high schools as a council, as a Black Caucus. And we said, listen, it's okay to be a police officer. We had to go literally to our high school and colleges and say, you need to look from a cultural perspective. These are great opportunities for career, great opportunities to serve, great opportunities to provide for your family. And we did the same thing about the fire department because a lot of African Americans, number one, don't know how to apply. Number two, you got in my opinion, it's my opinion, too many people outside the city want to come to the city to be a policeman. Not enough people in Nashville want to be a police officer or firefighter. And so we need to make sure that we have people culturally, that African Americans value being a first responder, know the career opportunities, know that it's a good paying job, know that it's a good career, and it is something that is vital, as the chief said, and necessary for a good city to be a great city.
Chief, you still in a recruiting campaign?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Always recruiting. Listen, when I first came on and up until we used to do applications every 3 years. And then when I became chief, we changed that. We do it every year because you think about it, man, 3 years, it takes you 3 years to actually be able to apply. And then we would have over 1,400 people applying. We do it every year. And, Jerry, you made a point, and you said this earlier, and I know, Ernie, you responded to it, but it was about making a difference. So, man, being there to make a difference and seeing yourself, you got to see yourself. I'm going to tell you a personal story that happened to me. When I was at 11s, we made this fire. And I was just a firefighter at the time, but I was acting in charge. So I was acting as the captain. I was not the captain, but I was acting in charge. And we made a call to one of the projects there, and as we made this fire, we sort of roped it off because it was so much damage that was done inside of the structure, and we was walking away from it. And the residents that lived there, they wanted to go back in there to actually get some stuff, and but basically, I was standing there. We had it taped off, and this young black lady that came over to me, and she was like, "Who's in charge? I need to go back in there." I said, "Well," and I was going to explain to her what she needed to do, and she walked right past me and went to my white counterpart.
Wow.
Now, listen, I was in charge,
Right.
and at first, I was really upset over that, right? I was like, "Wow, dude."
Yeah.
And then what was funny, of course, I stood there and waited, and he turned her around and pointed her back to me.
Awesome.
But here's the thing about that. I had to wake up
Yeah.
and say, well, there's no reason for me to be upset. She's never seen somebody in charge
Wow.
that was
Right.
black. That
Right.
Now again, 11s were so. I want to make this perfectly clear. That was my experience because at Station 11, that's a black state. It was a black station with some great black leaders that I could name right now, and everybody would be like, "I know him." But listen, so that happened. So what it made me do is say, you know what? They don't know. If they don't know because they don't see it a lot. Now, years ago, my youngest now LA, who played basketball for NYBA, is a great organization. Basketball, they deal with a lot of black youth and everything. They do a great job. When it first started there, the LA was playing, and the coach would have practice on Sundays, and it had it around, I don't know, 1 o'clock or something of that nature. Well, that's church time for most black people. I'm just getting out.
Right.
And I was like, wow, man, and so I had a battle with this. I got to teach my son the structure, sound foundation. You got to be in church, Sunday school, church. But yet I wanted him to be exposed to the great organization like the NYBA. And so I remember the coach was talking to all the parents, and he said, "Hey, well, we're halfway through the season. Is there any ideals, anything y'all like to change? I'm open to it." And, I raised my hand. I said, "Hey, can we have practice at a different time, like maybe
Right.
3 or something?"
Mhm.
And I said, because, I go to church. And then somebody said, "Well, I don't go to church. It don't make no difference for me."
Wow.
And then somebody else said, "Well, hey, look, I'm a 7-day Adventist. I go Saturday."
Right,
I'm
right,
like,
right.
man. So the coach said, "Well, you know what? Let's just keep it the way it is." So you know what I did? Next year, I became the coach. So when we didn't have practice at 1 o'clock. See,
Right.
so getting involved,
Amen.
when you was told, "Hey, get on this board."
Yeah.
So when people complain about things, or
That's
people
exactly what
are
happened.
not having an understanding about something,
Yeah.
listen, get involved, because what that does, it gives you a different perspectives. And then you are the one that make those decisions. And we did not have practice at 1 o'clock because I had the flexibility of changing that, right?
See,
So-
Ernie, what they could have done is come to Cathedral of Praise where we get out by
Uh-oh.
12.
Oh, okay.
yeah.
There's some who are bedside Baptists, too. Our
Wait a
guest
minute
is
now.
Director Chief William Swan. He's the leader of the Nashville Fire Department, Nashville Office of Emergency Management, talking about history. And, of course, Black History Month is coming up. Chief Swan is the first African American deputy director in Nashville history, and also the first African American Nashville Fire Department director chief in the city's history. As we approach Black History Month, Chief, are you grooming others to come along and you can pass the baton to?
Well, listen, one of the things that I'm really big on is succession planning, and that means you're trying to prepare and get people ready that's going to fall into that next level, and it behooves all of us to do that. In anything in life, right? We do that with our jobs, our kids, and everything. So at every level that's on the department, that person is in that position. We're trying to make sure that we're setting examples and grooming and getting that person or persons prepared to be able to fall into that slot. And the best way that we do that by number one is being very transparent and open. I don't hide anything when it comes to that. The chief before me, Chief White, I was very fortunate that he let me see the good, bad, and ugly, and how he ran and operated things. And we were completely different on a lot of fields, but in other things we were very much step in step with. And so, yes, we're always striving to prep and prepare people for that next level. And we've got a lot of great prospects. I mean, when it comes to this level, the director chief, it is important that there's people that we know that I feel that, hey, this person would probably be a good look here. But at this level, it becomes a little different. It's really competitive. They usually open it up, and then you go before a big panel, and then of course the mayor will have the final say as well. But that'll get me in trouble, Ernie. If you're trying to tell me who am I looking at, that's gonna get somebody else in trouble.
This has been a great lesson plan.
Yeah.
Special guest Jerry.
Hey, listen,
before we go,
the fire department, the fire union are incredible. It's been my experience that the men and women of the fire department are simply incredible. The men and women of the union itself are incredible. And they've been very progressive. The union, in my opinion, has never fought for progressiveness and inclusive. Now, yes, they have their standards. Yes, they have their interests. Yes, they could be a little more open-minded, but they're not as closed-minded as some other unions I've seen. Yeah. And I want to say that. I also want to say to you, Chief, I know that you wrote a book. Mm-hmm. You got a book coming out. And, I'm always looking for things about leadership. How do you serve better? How do you communicate better? So if you can give me a couple tips, man, because I'm always looking to see, maybe I need to shut my mouth more and listen more and talk less.
Right. That's why you're the special guest.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, no, we like that.
Right.
Well, yes,
Tell us about the book.
Well, I'm very excited about that. In February, I'm going to be, then all the hard work has been done now. It's called Inspired Leadership. And again, it's going to give you a good glimpse of 10 qualities and traits that you need as a leader. Each one of them, when it goes to, like, for instance, communication, it'll open up. It'll start with a story that's personally happened to me, and it's going to dive deeply into what's going to make you a better leader. And it's, at this point in time, you can tell, hey, I'm a Christian, and I'm going to always be proud of that. It's not a religious book. It's a book that, again, it takes a lot of parts from that, but it's a book about leadership, and it will help you be better. It's for leaders already. Leaders is going to be. I'm excited about it. And it'll happen in February. Ernie, I'll be more than happy maybe when it breaks. If you can invite me back, we can maybe talk a little bit more about it. You got an open invitation,
always.
Yeah, so I'm excited. Inspired Leadership, and it'll be open.
You better do it after church, though.
Right.
Ernie, don't invite them during church now.
All right.
Hey, look, Mount Vernon Missionary Baptist Church, Pastor Willie Joy. I'm going to give a shout out there, man. And we don't get off at 1. We start at 10. I teach Sunday school, don't study, and we get out about 12. So I heard what Jerry was over there saying.
Director Chief William Swan, the leader of the Nashville Fire Department and Nashville Office of Emergency Management, has been our special guest, Jerry Mader. And coming up next week, we'll be talking to a couple of people to deal with your children. Who are they? They are the juvenile court judge, Sheila Calloway.
Oh, that's my friend.
And we'll be talking to Lionel Matthews.
Oh, yeah.
Perfect. Two great guests.
That's coming up on the next show. Thank you so much for joining us here on our podcast, Let's Talk Podcast. And, of course, as always, remember to respect your father and your mother, love your brother, and teach your sister how to be a lady. Until we talk again. It's been. And don't forget, we're live on YouTube. Thank you for joining us. We'll talk next Sunday.
Is a wrap.
That's it.
Amazing, guys.
We're gonna do a